Hello, dear reader. I'm Death, Death herself. I thought I was to meet my brother, the one above all, here. Well, I guess he started the tour without us. Mind if I tag along as we catch up? Oh, Acadia, desiring Earth One as a wedding present for their parents, step-siblings, Kalibak and Hela invaded Acadia first. Fire pits opened across the frozen north. Ghosts of dishonored warriors marched coast to coast. Parademons devoured whole species into extinction, and Kalibak wrote a love poem to Hela across the Arctic in human blood. If not for the courage of its fearless heroes, Acadia would have been lost from that victory. Father boxes were recovered to open boom tubes across Reality 616. Meanwhile, Mounties patrol wearing armor reverse-engineered from apocalyptian technology. The friendly neighbor to the north is no longer friendly. Take Flight. Airy is a venture philanthropy firm founded by Kyle Richmond. Haunted by his parents' unsolved murders, Kyle dedicated his life to unsolved mysteries. Curiously, the song Shakespeare's Garden by Cause and Effect can often be heard on the building's sound system. Because no one demanded it. Is your neighbourhood overrun by ethnic stereotypes? Did those ethnic stereotypes pawn your football swag to get the cash to get the super strength to win an amateur fight? Well, you need heroes as pathetic as you are. War veteran Billy Moon wanted to use his combat pay to pursue his dream of roller derby. What? When his best friend was murdered, he was inspired by a boys' comic book collection to become Skate Man. Phil Grayfield was an aspiring football player who saved a kid and suffered a dream-killing knee injury in the process. He was reduced to becoming a sideline reporter instead. Still a better job than most failed athletes. But a twist of fate came when a super scientist football fan designed a robotic uniform. Well, someone was inspired by the NFL on Fox. Anyway, crooks broke into the scientist's home to steal his merch collection, but for some reason, not the $5 million robotic uniform. And then the crooks torched the place. Phil was for some reason tied up, and the fire in combination with chemicals and the robotic uniform. Okay, I'm moving on. I just want this over with. Roberto Velasquez was an aspiring boxer. However, his dreams were knocked out due to his meager size. He could have entered the lightweight class. Anyway, he purchased a strength augmentation procedure, and then, I don't care. If you absolutely must hand a live grenade to a miner, then call on the All-Stars. Bad ideas, done poorly. In the common year of 130, Raj Hadrian of the South Simkarian Empire was touring the Salon province when he beheld Marcus. A beautiful centurion, Marcus was courted by Hadrian until Vermeru's saucer crash-landed. The pilot, Bellator, was taken before Hadrian. The alien informed Hadrian of his escaped prisoner, Forrest. Together, Bellator and Marcus recaptured Forrest, but the villain was indeed a crafty one. Bellator walked into a clever death trap. As Forrest reactivated the saucer, Marcus boarded before takeoff. Marcus subdued Forrest as the saucer continued Vermeru. Unfortunately, Marcus had journeyed without relativistic compensation. In other words, the broken saucer arrived at Vermeru centuries later. Inspired by Marcus, the Vermeru recruited peacekeeping centurions from planets vulnerable to the likes of Forrest. Marcus returned to Earth in a now-repaired saucer. Now, Marcus commands a garrison of Alpha Centurions dedicated to freeing modern Simcaria from Lord Havoc. Recently, Marcus was gifted poems authored by Hadrian. One read, "The one who lets me see the energy I feel, the one who lets me touch the things I say. In the orange sky, I see your new commitments. I await your return, my Marcus." The god Atlas is the namesake of every Atlantis in the multiverse. in the year 11,600 pre-cataclysm, the Atlantean men lost a decisive battle against the invading deviants. Athanasius wrote that Atlas deemed Atlantis unworthy and decreed that it sank. However, Queen Athena halted the invading deviants. Atlas shrugged, impressed. The god then protected the city as it sunk and ordained the female population immortal. Ugh, immortality, not my thing. Curiously, the Earth in this universe is named Angor. Despite thousands of years of linguistic evolution across thousands of miles, Angor is common in every tongue. Fringe linguists have posited a theory. The first human population named their environment after a word for mental pain and suffering. Or perhaps the world was named after a god of mental pain and suffering. Hyperion has noticed that Angor means overmind in the eternal tongue. In eternal lore, the overmind was banished for hypnotizing thousands of humans. Does this explain why Angorians are so susceptible to mind control? Apelex was once a thriving ecosystem until a climatic cataclysm rendered the planet barren. Rather than plant new flora, the survivors became the flora. Rather than raise new livestock, they became the livestock. However, nature is savage, and savagery is best kept apart from civilization. On Halloween in the common year 1938, radio reporter Maurice Lamarche witnessed Apelexians competing for leadership. The tournament ravaged the state of New Garden. Secretly, the tournament was sponsored by the jet set known only as the Black Glove. Eventually, the Apelexians were sent packing when Angor's first super team, the Great Society, repelled them. And what of Maurice Lamarche? Where he went remains a mystery. Arcava is an isolationist society founded by... I can't even...
During Kalibak and Hela's invasion, a tenement building was leveled. Rather than extricate survivors, Hyperion continued to blindly rage against parademons. Among those trapped under rubble was Gus Gorman. A day labourer now physically impaired, Gus was placed in welfare conscription where he was bussed to a low-wage job with no labour rights. Gus was conscripted by Burbank Labs. Gorman's brain was plugged into a data network to bolster its memory. While plugged in, Gus discovered he could consciously manipulate the network, and so he plundered from those who grew rich off welfare conscription. Afterward, Gus invented the supercomputer called Romac. In turn, Romac invented Cybron 1.0, an AI based on Gorman's tyrannical supervisor. It was then the AI intercepted a signal from its future descendant, Cybron 9.0. Gus now knew of Argonite, a creation metal that comprises celestial armor. Its radiation is lethal to Eternals, such as Hyperion. If Hyperion should ever run afoul of him again, Gus Gorman will be ready.
The Omega Celestials of the First World entered the Fourth World to settle on Earth 1. Here, they initiated repopulation. Prototype Eternals and Deviants were produced. But when aspirants entered Reality 616, the last Celestials abandoned repopulation on Earth 1. Newborn Celestials were dispatched to continue repopulation on Earth 0. Consequently, the celestial egg within Angor was aborted. This meant the deviants were spared from becoming nutrients for an emerging celestial, and so deviant culture flourished. Deviants carved a network of tunnels large enough to nestle cities. Air shafts were drilled and aquifers were taped. The empire was named Armageddon, and its capital became Arca. Armageddon was defeated by Atlantis during a bid to conquer the surface world. The resulting cataclysm injured the center, prompting a reduced deviant population. Currently, the mad tyrant Tantalus rules Armageddon with an iron will and an iron fist, both of which are becoming rusty. During the Second Global War, the Hostess project yielded the nuclear bomb. The city established to create that bomb would soon become a thriving metropolis, Atomic City. The metropolis is America's preeminent experimental city. Atomic City is where all new life-changing technology is tested. The city has pioneered antimatter power, smart roads, and intellicrops. Once, Atomic City was home to Rocket Man, hero of the atomic age. Nowadays, Atomic City is protected by the living reactor, known as Nuke. No, dear reader, you're not watching a bad 90s cartoon. That's Earth 3. In the mechanized metropolis of Motor City, Wyandotte, the Avengers are the misfit toys of heroism. It all started when Craig Hollis was born endowed with the life equation. Unable to experience injury, Craig was a popular punching bag for both bullies and foster parents. This prompted anger issues, a hatred for life, and a suicide attempt. It was then I appeared to comfort him and convince him life was worth living. Inspired, Craig placed an add-on hero list for any other misfit supers. And so, a lost deviant, an altered supermodel, a Kalahian fashion designer, a Dark Force user, a cosmetic heiress, a jeweler, and a podcaster answered the ad. Together, they founded Revson, a lifestyle company, to fund their adventures as the Avengers. I'm so proud of Craig. The Balloonians are refugees from the planet Balloonia. Fleeing a world polluted as the price of progress, they resettled in Ocean City, El Dorado. Balloonians have a rather unique physiology. They can self-inflate and float like balloons. Utilizing their paws, they can release air to self-propel. Their domesticated animals also have this adorable ability. Balloonians are often employed in environmental science and at birthday parties. The most prominent Balloonians are the Krim family, who have become climate change celebrities. Power becomes you. Just try it on and see. The Black Glove is an annual party exclusive to elite jet-setters. Party planner Jezebel Jet MCs and referees all manner of decadence and debauchery, contests and betting. Recently, a new party guest has been invited, Kyle Richmond. The bet? Solving the murders of Conroy and Andrea Richmond. And what is in it for Jezebel Jet? The ultimate status or the ultimate betrayal? Ugh, nightmare fuel. Can we... Oh dear, get that off screen, please. The bridge is Angor's first line of defense against alien incursions. Following Karlabak and Hela's invasion, it was spun off the Secret Department of Investigation. Commander Ruth Nager coordinates all extraterrestrial intelligence. Her inner circle includes the streetwise Brett Dalton, the eccentric Mallory Jansen, the disciplined Ming-Na, and the bionic Chloe Wang. While a shining example of global cooperation, the truth itself shines not. Dr. Farrah built the bridge from technology, pillaged from the alien colony Fortisk. Brett is a spy for the Skull Organization. Mallory is an Imperium saboteur, and Chloe is being remote controlled by Gus Gorman. And Commander Nager? She is a predator unseen since the last cataclysm. Little is known of the Huckster. He might be as old as Cosmopolis itself. He often trades on irony. The Huckster recruits only the best flim-flam artists. Have you been approached to sell an absurd amount of points for cheap prizes? Called a 900 number and broke the bank? Duped into a subscription you cannot cancel at any time? Or suckered into poor eating habits by consuming fattening fruit pies? Well, dear reader, you've been had by the artists. Life is war. Money is a weapon. You are not crazy. You are all too sane. These are only a handful of quotes spoken by Emil Burbank Jr. A recluse, Burbank preferred dark corners over spotlights. Secluding himself inside a dark lab, this genius billionaire philanthropist spent years investigating existence itself. And when that investigation concluded, he emerged from his seclusion, worried bald, and providing a new quote: "Strike at your enemy before they ever know you are their enemy." Once upon a time in Britannia, knights dueled aliens. These knights were abducted to the world of Orion. There the knights founded Camelon, ruled by King Arctur. The Knights of Camelon defend their realm from other anachronistic human societies. Modern Camelonians speak an evolved form of medieval Pictish. Fun fact, an amnesiac Hyperion once crashed near Camelon and was knighted. Alas, he lost a juiced to Nighthawk thanks to an Argonite-tipped lance. Capital City was built by American Africans who had been employed as migrant labourers since colonial times. The city is diamond-shaped, in honour of the diamonds that Africans traded for transatlantic passage. When touring Capital City, you might visit the Freedom Fortress, home of the Crusader. Or you might see at Capitol Hall, where 200 lawmakers comprise a unicameral legislature. Perhaps you will dig the National Court, where federal court seniority decides who becomes a judge. Currently, Magellan is crusading to become the newest American state. Statehood now. Admit it, when you see Chitara from Thundercats, you thought about it. Whenever Carl Richmond attends a black glove, he likes to indulge a little. Or does he? Progeny of the progenitors, the cat people were hunted to near extinction by a predator unseen since the last cataclysm. Craving attention, they evolved into domesticity with familiars, humans who can secret them. For cats without a familiar, sex work is often a common career. And how are cats without familiars? Reasons range from abandonment to death. For Snowcloud, her familiar, Detective Harvey Harris, was murdered by those who burned Richmond Manor to the ground. In common year 1984, a childlike Beyonder abducted the champions to Battleworld, a region of the Gamelands. There, the heroes fought a series of secret wars against the extremists. Now, 40 years later, the champions have returned with gaps in their memories. The members are the brutish big baby, the glowing guardian of good Hyperius, the nerdy everyman Red Ant, Chari Matt aka Major Max, Demosian archer Deadeye, the shrinking kite, storm god Perquinus, the Simcarian spy Red Sparrow, the adventurer Golden Dragon, the Shretli sleuth Elongated Man, the wandering warrior Devil Fist, the miniature Blue Jay, the Atlantean Amazon Hermetica, rain god Wuluade, a utopian known as Free Agent, the inventive Machine Head, who's better than the rest, and Adam Destine, aka the Crusader. Champions Charge! Champion House was the living space built atop the arena, the old HQ of the Champions. Following the team's abduction, it became a museum. Following the team's return, the museum was gifted back to them. Still, you can tour the house and snap pics of the team's turbocopter and the Crusader's Star Dart glider. Tours are given daily by the HQ's major domo, Frankie. That name seems a little out there. A little beyond, if you ask me. Maynard Tybalt is descended from a Nazi surveillance team that came to Angor from Earth Zero. He grew up in Tybalt Circus, a cover for the surveillance team. Eventually, the team concluded that no one was ever coming to collect their intelligence or retrieve them. Today, Tybalt Circus is an attraction in Delta City. All the while, Maynard the Ringmaster networks for his global criminal enterprise. Step right up and experience a show unlike any Angor has ever seen. Feast your eyes on an elf with a gun. Now that's what I call a sideshow attraction. I mean, come on, it's an elf with a gun. Adam was a simple villager from Ravenscroft, Britannia. In the summer of common year 1168, Adam helped a slave woman escape her bondage only to be impaled on the scythe of a Nordic slave catcher. Later, on his deathbed, the slave Elilith came onto Adam offering him a wish for continued life. Adam accepted her offer and was healed. However, Elilith was a jinn, and her kind are poor communicators. Adam was now immortal with 2 more wishes to fulfill. Afterward, Elilith's master, Al-Kadab, entered Ravenscroft to retrieve his runaway property. Kadab revealed he required the jinn to defeat the wizard Sujana. The wizard possessed the Redstone of Sitarak, a gem plucked from the Lifestone tree of Gemworld. The only weapon that Kadab could find to equal such power was Elilith. The jinn confirmed Kadab's intentions. Reluctantly, Adam agreed. Posing as a Crusader knight and a translator, respectively, Adam and Kadab sought Sujana in Arabia. After 4 adventures in 4 lands over 4 months, Adam and Elilith fell in love. Finally, the trio encountered and defeated Sujana. It was then Kadab revealed his true pain. He judged humanity as having failed, and so sought eternal return as the only solution. Adam used his second wish to banish the Redstone. He then used his third and final wish to free Elilith of her servitude. Returning to Ravenscroft, Adam and Elilith had 4 children. Due to Adam's immortality and Elilith's magic, the children possessed longevity and powers. Over the centuries, the family has dedicated itself to helping humanity. And what of the residents of Ravenscroft? What do they know of the local Destine family? Well, as locals are fond to say, we don't talk about Adam. An insular society, Colony Fortesque, was founded by multi-species refugees from a doomed solar system. The refugees followed a comet to Fortesque. That comet came to be worshipped as the god mummy. Sharing genetic engineering technology, he was altered to ensure his survival. Marooned, Beckley soon went native. Then one day, a lost colony ship returned home. On board were Marines from Angor. These Marines raided technology, killing hundreds. Using his adaptations, Beckley repelled the raiders. Now the colonists follow a new kind of comet, one that speeds towards Earth for justice. Stephen Beckley, the Comet Man. Founded as New Orange, Cosmopolis is home to Hyperion, Nighthawk and Power Princess. The city is indeed a city of the world. You can sightsee alien neighbourhoods, enjoy deviant cuisine, or enjoy utopian art galleries. If Angor ever united, Cosmopolis would be its capital. But does it have a Camden Market? Millennia ago, 2 planets warred and warred until each executed a final solution. One planet unleashed Hexus, the Living Corporation. The other launched the Dark Heart to consume the enemy homeworld. The Dark Heart creates rovers that reproduce and consume until nothing of a planet is left. Any machine remnants then drift to other worlds. Powered by Dark Force, the Dark Heart can even consume the emotional spectrum. However, it can be defeated. Tom Thumb once gave the machine's cardiac unit a heart attack. On another occasion, Dr. Spectrum tricked it into falling into its own dark force. Curiously, the anarchist, Quagmire, wields the same dark force fluid as the Dark Heart. Marooned on Angor, half-siblings Mukarai and Simeon went into the nightclub business. Nicknamed the Evil Factory, the Darkside Club hosts interspecies discourse. Despite their newfound freedom, Mukarai and Simeon are hellbent on contacting Apocalypse. But no one returns to Apocalypse without glory for Darkseid. So what are Mukarai and Simeon up to in the VIP lounge? So ugly they're cute. From the far-flung world of Deimos, the Deimosian diaspora are a planet-lacking species. Deimosians display either blue or green skin and webbed or unwebbed fingers. Stereotyped as gangsters, Deimosians are often met with suspicion. For this reason, all Deimosian space states are denied embassies on Angor. Why do they all look like Sean Gunn? The Prototype Center birthed several nutritious races. These races include the ghouls, the Gortokians, the lava men, the lizard men, and the molens. Each race operates as a castle. Additionally, excessive deviants are malformed and monstrous outcasts. These outcasts were the result of damage inflicted on the sender during the last cataclysm. The ghouls are bureaucratically organised and are builders and engineers. The lava men are tribally organised and ensure geothermal power and ore supplies. Jinku, first lava man to visit the surface, leads the golden lava men who generate power. Grotesque, a strictly religious man, leads the red lava men who dig ore. The lizard men are guild organised and are farmers, foragers and hunters. The molens are precinct organised and are military police who patrol the tunnels, air shafts and aquifers. Their leader is Rakta. Finally, the Gortokians are menial labourers under the other castes. Lord Tantalus rules the deviants with an iron will and an iron fist, but iron rusts. Rebel leader Black Wolf howls for freedom. Black Wolf is secretly Lucian, the bastard prince and favoured son of Tantalus. Lucian inherited the Black Wolf identity from his half-brother, Pelops, the exiled prince. But Black Wolf is only one of many headaches for Tantalus. His court vizier, Malhavoc, has secretly enslaved refugee light elves to mine Argonite. The Mad Vizier hopes to weaponize the Argonite, as deviants are vulnerable to it. So we have a Game of Thrones with a good guy, a bad guy, and a worse guy. And when you play the Game of Thrones, you either win, or you die, or have a rubbish final series. Draken is an icy moon orbiting as a ringed gas giant. Draconite society exists underground in order to tap geothermal sources. Subterranean oceans, air pockets and fungal light sources abound. Draconite mutants can quickly freeze the air around them and even project ice. Energy is conserved and energy units are often traded as currency. Due to climate change, Draconite refugees have been settled on Angor, in Antarctica. The species is divided into 3 sexes. Males provide sperm, females provide eggs, and intermales provide wombs. Recently, an intermale student at Fine University has petitioned for sanctuary citing sex slavery. Progeny of the progenitors. The Earthers are a subterranean rock species. The deviants and light elves regard them as subterranean legends. This is due to Earthers camouflaging amongst harmless boulders. However, when discovery is imminent, the Earthers will grind a witness into dust. Fortunately, the superheroine mermaid has escaped them on several occasions, but she is the least of the Earthers' worries. Their camouflage is useless against their predator, unseen since the last cataclysm.
You don't have a clue what it means to live in fear, do you? To wonder why no one can stop the bogeymen who knock down skyscrapers or blow up schools? Well, we do. Human beings do. We understand fear all too well. If you don't, you're living in a dream world. This is a call out to the shadow cabinets, petty dictators and all-round tossers of the world. You're on notice. We're not bound by lines on a map or political alliances or government bodies of any kind. Matter of fact, we smash flags. We are our own bosses and we have a very simple job. There are the good guys, namely us, and the bad guys, namely anyone who treats anyone else like trash to further their petty aims. We turn bad guys into memories, so mind your manners, lads and lasses, or we'll blow your house down. We're the people, we're the elite, not you.
Elmwood City, Alameda is a city built on idealism. During the Indochina War, Elmwood was the centre of student protest. During Kalibak and Hellas invasion, it was home to West Coast resistance. During that invasion, Sam Alexander witnessed his mother and sister processed into parademons. Sam's mother had taken her children to escape an abusive father. Sam's aunt, Alice Nugent, rescued him, revealing herself as Dr. Spectrum. Alice begged her mentor, Scott Mason, to grant a power prism to Sam for protection, and so Sam became Kid Spectrum. Since that day, Alice has won custody of her nephew from her brother-in-law. Sam is now simply over the rainbow. Prototype Eternals were created to safeguard the celestial egg within Angor. However, when the Omega Celestials sensed the aspirant's arrival in Reality 616, the egg was aborted, and the Prototype Eternals were left without a purpose. The Prototype Eternals often left Heliopolis to visit Angor. These visits were weaved into tales of gods and angels. Prototype Eternals displayed traits different than what Eternals would display on Earth Zero. Prototype Eternals displayed rare fertility rather than sterility, a homing instinct rather than a locality instinct, and no uni-mind union. During the last cataclysm, the Prototype Eternals, led by Ikaden, met their match, a predator that rivaled a coalition of Eternals, Atlanteans and progeny. Ikaden cornered one such predator, Hostess, near the Eden River. Waiting out a flood, the duo committed the impossible. They conceived Hyperion. Croesus, the celestial speaker, found Ikaden and Hostess nurturing baby Hyperion. Eternals were designed to breed with Eternals. Whatever the predator's nature, Eternals they were not. Terrified, he prayed to the Celestials for guidance. They answered not. In common year 1984, a childlike Beyonder abducted the extremists to Battleworld, a region of the Game Lands. There, the villains fought a series of secret wars against the champions. Now, 40 years later, the extremists have returned with gaps in their memories. They are the Savage Tracer, the Tentacled Gorgon, the 14 Sorcerer Dreamslayer, the Magnetic Dr. Diehard, the Deviant Tartarus, and the Time Conqueror Epoch. Green Gremlin and Carney were killed during the Secret Wars. Their leader is the Metallic Lord Havoc. Can the extremists bring evil back? With Lord Havoc back on the throne in Symkaria, count on it. Exorians enjoy a post-scarcity economy and a unified world. This means ennui is a mental illness, and so Exorians pursue either hedonism, adventure or crime. These pursuits are known as thunderlust. Exorian hedonists are so sexually skilled, poets and bards swoon that only Exorians can satisfy Exorians. Exorian adventures are coveted as mercenaries, police and emergency responders. Two Exorian mutants, siblings Zan and Jaina, are interns for Angor's SquadronSupreme. Exorian crooks are so infamous, it has been stated, it takes an Exorian to catch an Exorian. The Therians are a bionically enhanced species. For what purpose 2 additional heads are attached is unknown. Anthropologists suspect each head serves a particular Freudian purpose: id, ego, and superego. Like the Demosians, Therians are stereotyped as villains. Hyperion has noted Therians have a police force that once arrested the criminal Triplex. However, contact with any Therian is rare. It is believed they were displaced by the Imperium.
Fine University was founded by the Fine family. Tragically, all family members perished during Kalibak and Hela's invasion. The university was placed in conservatorship under Websco Community Trust. That trust was founded by illegitimate heir Milton Fine. Lonnie Latimer, the Dean of Journalism, uncovered no one who had ever met Milton Fine. The article in the campus paper prompted Fine to confront editor Mark Milton. Students dubbed the matchup Milton v. Milton. Fine was exposed as Cyberon 2.0. A battle ensued between Cyberon and Mark's alter ego, Hyperion. Afterward, Hyperion discovered the university labs were printing synthesized argonite.
Atomic City, 1963. The invisible war between Russia and America. Patrick Carney was director of Operation Deep Freeze, the effort to preserve the body of the fighting American. One night, he witnessed what he thought was a clash between Russian saboteurs and an American agent. The American agent, Cassandra Locke, was an Exorian operative in pursuit of Exorian mercenaries. However, she lacked support from her own government. Exor preferred criminals anywhere but Exor. Since Exorians could shapeshift, Angorian authorities were untrustworthy. Inspired by the fighting American, Carney became Rocket Man. Together, he and Locke recruited offbeat heroes to fight a new invisible war. By the 1970s, First Line vanished without a trace. Who hired the Exorians, the dystopians, the deviants, or a predator unseen since the last cataclysm? Icarus I was a secret project to surveil pocket dimensions. The Future Foundation mobilized Agent Ted Munn to direct the mission. To do so, he assembled mastermind Jonathan Franklin Mora, assassin Catherine Mora, and technological savant Peter Boyer. The Icarus I wandered into the Crunch, bathing the crew in pulverized reality. The ship then crash-landed in Symkaria. Lord Havoc, ruler of Symkaria, tortured the agents, deducing the Future Foundation's existence. And the agents? Franklin's Kalahian heritage was unlocked. Catherine could weaponize water, Peter crackled with electricity, and Ted could transform into a lava-bleeding rock monster. Fantastic. The Future Foundation agents surveil, sabotage, erase, or assassinate any threat to the future. But who is the Foundation's mysterious founder? That would be Paul Manning, a woman seemingly invisible. While Kalibak and Hela escaped Angor, Angorian collaborators escaped justice. And so, the Helvetic League created the Global Guardians. Tasked with hunting collaborators, the team has discovered the truth. They really have been assassinating witnesses to collaboration. Turns out the Helvetic League had welcomed the Apocalyptian overlords. During the Second Global War, visitors from Earth Zero, the Marvels, inspired the Golden Agency. The team was led by the fighting American whose soul had possessed his twin's body. Throughout the war, he carried an Argonite copy of Captain America's shield. The flamboyant Red Raven claimed she was from Sky Island. Or was that Skyland? Power Princess was a utopian ambassador. Thin Man had been an explorer from Kalahia. The Destroyer was a spy who smuggled a super soldier drug out of Germania inside his own body. The Thunderer was a radio spy turned counter-saboteur. Miss America hailed from the utopian parallel in the Godsphere. The Blur was a hyper-time traveller. Post-war, the members embarked on new adventures. Fighting American and Power Princess were married until his untimely death. Red Raven vanished. The Thunderer and the Destroyer vanished. The Blur returned to his hyper-time and became a pitchman. And Miss America, now called La Borrachena, continued to scour the multiverse for her wife and daughter. And what of the Thin Man? He became the great-grandfather of Flatman, Elongated Man, and Frank Future. The Ghost Ship. An often told creepypasta of the spaceways, it drifts through the soft black nothing of space. Taking refuge, Hyperion thought he was alone, his heart unbothered by time. He thought to smile yet refused. What good would that kind of peace be with no souls to share it? Hyperion felt eyes upon him, the ghostly eyes of a spectral princess. She too was alone, but her heart was bothered by time. Her people fled a doomed world, only to fall into the clutches of Darkseid. Coveting the lost Ark, Darkseid sought to loot its Argonite fuel. Risking his life to save the lethal creation metal, Hyperion hid the ghost ship where Darkseid could not see. Once safe, the Last Eternal and the Royal Spectre shared a kiss and some parting words. Until the next dimension. When Apalexians chose Angor as the arena for their leadership tournament, they ravaged New Garden. The state was saved when 5 supers assembled to eject the competitors. On that fateful Halloween in 1938, those heroes founded the Great Society. The team was led by Sun God, whose origins were ancient. Knight Rider was an armoured detective who rode a ghostly horse named Dalahan. Dr. Invisible was sent from the 58th century by the Solar Council. Heka was the god of magic and medicine, chosen as a master of order, and Jem was a prince of Saturn whose society had also been ransacked by an Apalexian tournament. Tragically, in 1941, the Great Society, save for Jem and Dr. Invisible, vanished during a multiverse incursion. Jem would later join the SquadronSupreme. Dr. Invisible went unseen for decades. However, Sun God's battle cry would echo through the ages. Society, together! Grizzly City is an autonomous settlement in Siberia. Officially, Russia does not recognize it. There you will find the starting line, the on-ramp into the inner arc of the Speed Force wall. Whenever the wind needs to access it, he must run a gauntlet of warrior bears. Progeny of the progenitors, grizzlies are among the last uncontacted peoples on Angor. However, it is advised to keep your distance. The grizzlies are known for chowing down on trespassers, leaving what remains as a warning. Grizzly, just grizzly. The hopeful Halons were once a warlike society until they doomed their world. Wandering as refugees, they were shown kindness and became a pacifistic society. Now known as missionaries and humanitarians, the Halons conduct peace talks and disaster relief. One Halon priest officiated Hyperion's funeral. Worry not, once he had insurance, he got better. Halonic hopefulness is often expressed in their farewell. Until the next dimension. Heliopolis is the city of the prototype Eternals. The city was meant to observe the celestial egg within Angor. Ikaden, the prime Eternal, triggered a blackout. All Eternals save for him were deactivated. Only the surplus-born Eternals, stored within Hibernacula, survived. Mysteriously, 30 years ago, Hyperion's Hibernaculum fell to Angor near the Milton Orphanage. Kalibak and Hela's invasion reduced entire nations to rubble. The Helvetic League was to relink the global supply chain. The HL conscripted and relocated hundreds of thousands of refugees to build Angor. In addition, the HL has abducted hundreds under the secret superhuman conscription treaty. Although members can withdraw their troops from pacification efforts, the action is a public relations ruse. That way, only the HL gets the blame for aggression. After a nation has been pacified, members always re-enlist their troops. The Secretary General is Helvetica's very own Guy Therault. Millennia ago, two planets warred and warred until each executed a final solution. One planet launched the Dark Heart. The other unleashed Hexus, the living corporation. Hexus is a parasitic idea to consume until no resources are left. Hexus rebrands. Hexus absorbs the competition. Hexus addicts entire societies to consumerism. It takes a particularly individualistic mind to resist Hexus. The living corporation has manifested entire races, specialized agents, and living products dedicated to addictive consumerism. Progeny of the progenitors. The Hydronoids are a monarchical society whose Atlantic waters are polluted from the surface. The Hydronoids acquired Hibernacula to preserve their species until a far later and cleaner time. Undersea disasters have scattered these preserved Hydronians. Fortunately, mermaid frequently happens upon them. Why not just venture to the surface and plead their case for cleaner waters? Because they cannot risk exposure to a predator unseen since the last cataclysm. The Hyper Clan claimed to be exiled activists from a fallen empire. Unlike their contemporaries, the Hyper Clan undertook tangible change to improve their society. This did not go well. The elites objected. Led by the angelic Protex, the team was exiled on a 1,000 Gaia journey to prove their methods. They were welcomed to Angor by American President J. Allen Carter. The HyperClan's activism led to public opinion criticizing the SquadronSupreme. However, Hyperion noted how Protex claimed to possess post-scarcity technology but had not gifted it. It was then the HyperClan began executing criminals. Anyone who intervened was likewise executed. Nighthawk and Prince Gem deduced the HyperClan's actual identity. The HyperClan were the shape-shifting Imperium. It was the Imperium who displaced Gem's people from Mars to Saturn's moon of Titan. In addition, the Imperium had also displaced the Demosians, Ferians and Fortisk. Gem's ancestor Skymax imprisoned the Imperium under the Martian wasteland. When astronaut J. Allen Carter explored Mars, he unintentionally awaits the Imperium. Afterward, Carter's form was copied. When the bridge's deep space monitoring network was hacked, it was by a copied Mallory Jansen. Once Angor was subdued, the Imperium welcomed their Gestalt, Imperium Prime. Fortunately, the SquadronSupreme repelled the Imperium. However, the Black Glove auctioned 5 Imperium POWs. The winning bet was by Kenna Parker and Barbie Mattel. The Intelligentsia are a collective of environmental and economic terrorists. Due to the technological nature of their crimes, authorities rendered them to the Secret Department of Investigation. The Intelligentsia were then pardoned and became consultants for the SDI. Recently, they were approached by Kenna Parker and Barbie Mattel. The deal? Create superior heroes in exchange for Power Princess and Dr. Invisible's phone numbers. Somewhere in the Himalayas, Kalahia thrives despite numerous intrusions, conquerors, expeditions, satellites, drones. What transpires inside that mountain, the world knows not. All we know is that Bruce Dixon was warped into the Thin Man there. While exploring his Kalahian heritage, Frank Future theorized Kalahia is a nexus point. If so, to where, and who exactly exists there? Are Kalahians from Angor or elsewhere? Kenna Parker and Barbie Mattel are simply unreal. Created by Hexus, the living corporation as the perfect entrepreneurs, they are the ultimate deal makers. No deal is too sweet to seal. Wait, Kenna and Barbie? Oh, I just got that. Kor is the oldest nation on Angor. Existing over 13,000 years, Kor is the Urhamite of the Afro-Asiatic languages. Kor is also the only African nation to avoid European stewardship. During the Lost Age, scholars visited to study the heretical knowledge secreted there. Today, Kor is the Ellis Island to the stars. It is where you find the Saturnian and Exorian embassies, not to mention witnesses launched to the bridge. Finally, Kor is often the site for treaties between Angor and extraterrestrial governments. Despite denying the Helvetic League any jurisdiction, Kor lent Dr. Mist to the Global Guardians. It is speculated that Aisha, the national goddess, demanded it. Whatever the Crenonians' original name, it has been lost to time. The Crenonians traverse hypertime, mapping history. These self-appointed Time Lords have frequently warred with the Scarlet Centurions and run afoul of both Wind and Hyperion. Their tyrannical leader, Dicta, has frequently conquered entire eras to ensure that time marches on. He views hypertime threading as a sickness, and he as the Doctor. Inhabitants of the Power Prism are known as Lightsmiths. Their society is founded on harmony among Red Wrath, Orange Gluttony, Yellow Terror, Green Resolve, Blue Faith, Indigo Empathy, and Violet Passion. To protect the Power Prism and their society within it, the Lightsmiths train a Spectrum Smith. Alice Nugent is the current Spectrum Smith due to her big and open heart. The Lightsmiths worship the emotional avatars, yet there is a faction who worships the one called Volthoom. The Lion Men were, like many species, displaced by Imperium. Nomadic Lion Men are said to have the morals of alley cats. They are always on the move, always on the loose. Lion X, a reputed gangster, does not see his people as cosmic tramps. He believes his people evolved into scavengers, the perfect survivors. Territorial, Lion X has frequently engaged Dr. Spectrum in many a catfight. Of course, Lion X often loses because he is such a big... Yeah, I said it. You can't cancel death.
Years ago, a crack commando unit was sent to the slab. These disciples escaped to the cosmopolitan underground. Today, still wanted by the SDI, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a mission, if no one else will do, and if you can pay them, maybe you can hire the lost disciples of Darkside.
A tribe of lava men were funneled to freedom by Black Wolf. This tribe is composed of both gold and red lava men and is led by Solderath. All they want is to be left alone. The tribe trades rare earth elements in exchange for synthetic argonite. Deviants like Eternals are susceptible to argonite poisoning. So why are the lava men, themselves deviants, stockpiling it? Because to prosper from peace is to prepare for war. While the werewolves of Earth 0 are caused by the red, the lycanthropes of Earth 1 are not. Once upon a time in South Symkaria, Raj Lycon ruled with such trickery he boasted he could outwit Zeus. Lycon's challenge was accepted by the Olympian. They traded victories in sleight of hand, thought puzzles, chance, hunting and combat. Each cheated, of course. It was then Zeus challenged Lycon to trivia over dinner. Lycon proved himself adept at answering trick questions. After devouring rather succulent meat, Zeus was quizzed about his omniscience. Zeus boasted he was indeed omniscient. For instance, he was aware that the meat was uniquely delicious. Lycon then asked him what was butchered to provide the meat. Zeus then stared at the dish. His consequent outburst cursed all 50 sons of Lycon to be marked for hunting by Artemis. For you see, Zeus had been served one of his own sons. Now, the descendants of Lycon howl whenever a full moon rises, hunted by whoever is currently favoured by Artemis. And no nocturnal hunter if more favoured than the dark angel himself, Nighthawk. The common year was 1933. The place was Kalahia. There, Emil Burbank Sr. studied the surreal sciences under the tutelage of the missionaries of Meta. Unlike his fellow student, Bruce Dixon, Emil's body was not warped by the experience. Rather, it was his mind. Mastering oneself was fine and good, but to thrive, one must master society. And so he began acquiring ideas and materials for a complete realignment of global politics. To fulfill his ambition, Emil recruited fellow surrealists. These recruits were Kingsley Rice, the human amphibian, Claire Debussy, the dystopian twin sister of Power Princess, and Ivanka Sokovia, aka the Emerald Witch, who was swifter than a twister. The Masters of Disaster sure keep the wind light on his feet. These rogues are henchmen for hire. New Wave, Shakedown, Windfall, Cold Snap, and Heatstroke often find their jobs foiled by the golden glider himself, the Wind. However, New Wave has her finger on the pulse of business culture. Are you an elite scouring the globe for power and profit? Has a blue jet stolen your ill-gotten loot? Or are you deviant rebels in need of smuggled supplies? Download the Hexus app and hire the Masters of Disaster today. December 16th, 1620. The Wanderers disembarked from the Mayflower, namesake of their new settlement. However, the Wanderers were not the Mayflower's only passengers. Supernatural horrors also claimed the new land as their own. Protecting Wanderer and native alike was Night Rider. He rode a glowing horse, stalking the things that went bump in the night. Who was his hero? Wayne. His name was Wayne. He claimed to have been a schoolmaster. But was he really? Immortal? Demon? Perhaps the name of his horse can provide us a clue. Dullahan. Great flaming trollhammers. The secluded kingdom of Middle-earth was settled by light elves from the dream of Alfheim. The elves settled here during the Lost Age. They were considered myth and legend until Malhavoc enslaved them to mine creation metals. Too secluded to contact the deviant rebel, Black Wolf, Baldiscan sought aid on the surface world. Braving the cave of the 3 deadly tasks, he pleaded for help from Mermaid. They quested for the Ring of Gandor to nullify Malhavoc's magic. they also befriended the excessive deviant known as the Dragon of Darkness, who had hoarded the ring. Mermaid utilised the Ring of Gandor to animate a golem that cast out Malhavoc. Afterward, Mermaid led the Light Elves to a new home under Kalahia. Emmanuel Medulla was a conservative firebrand who hosted a podcast called Toxic Femininity. So delusional, it never occurred to her that while waging a war on women, that she would become a casualty. Converting to misandry, Medulla sweet-talked the intelligentsia into demonstrating their will booster. Medulla then brainwashed an army to seize Elmwood City. During the siege, Power Princess was brainwashed into becoming Medulla's champion. Willow Khan was somehow immune to the mind control. She snapped Power Princess out of her trance. Together, the duo defeated Medulla and restored the will of the Mind Maidens. The former hench wenches regarded the restoration of their will by Power Princess as the real brainwashing. Conservative, all right. Grateful for Willow's aid, Power Princess awarded her a student visa on Utopia Isle. Since then, Willow Khan has renamed herself Girl Power. The Mithraic began as a religious faction on their native world. When the Imperium pillaged that world, only the Mithraic survived, with their name becoming synonymous with their species. The Mithraic scriptures are called the Mysteries. Those mysteries prophesize the hero, Sol, being reincarnated on another world. It is believed this reincarnation will shepherd the Mithraic to a new home. Furthermore, the hero would be identified by the holy circlet of power. The nomadic Mithraic utilize energizers, solar energy extractors, to provide all energy needs. Fleet Commander Gormaga Kral opted to weaponize the energizers to annihilate inhabited solar systems. That way, no potential reincarnation could usurp his authority. Dr. Shahan, inventor of the energizers, fled with the holy circlet of power. Crash landing on Angor, Shahan was rescued by comic nerd Ben Tucker. Desperate Shahan affixed the circlet around the lad's wrist. Instantly, Tucker transformed into the likeness of Sol. As Solar Man, Tucker stopped cruel. Unbeknownst to Tucker, the mysteries foretell the new Mithraic home is to be the reincarnation's native world, and that world is to be purged of its indigenous peoples. What a twist! Originally founded as Fort Detroit, Motor City relies on a dystopian economy. Police are subscription-based, the poor are conscripted without labour rights, and news media is too expensive for middle-class readers. Once, Motor City had been a working-class utopia. Unions were on corporate boards, healthcare had been universal within city limits, rent was controlled, and children were protected by child labour laws. But then, Kalibak and Hela razed the city. Corporate collaborators then assumed the duties of the executed government. When the postal service was privatised, Stanley Stewart lost his job. Fleeing the slavery of welfare conscription, Stanley and his family passed through a toxic smog. That smog carried particulates of Yarkar metal used by apocalyptian invaders. While his family's breathing masks were secure, Stanley's was not. Miraculously, he acquired a speed that defied physics. Now, Motor City has its own outlaw hero who runs like the wind, because that's his name. An inescapable prison, Murder World is where only the worst of the worst can be its warden. Currently, that warden is Massacre, who is inmate a number 1. When a Zagdad court wrongfully convicted Lonnie Latimer of sacrilege, Hyperion broke into Murder World to extricate her. Defeating Massacre in a wrestling match, Hyperion and Latimer escaped. Afterward, Massacre was mocked as B number 2. Enraged, Massacre slaughtered every inmate on Murder World. How did he accomplish that? Because he's a number 1. In Magelland, there is a house everyone forgets as soon as they pass it. It is the home of one Baron Winters. Did I say home? I mean prison. Although the home has doorways into other times, there is one time where the Baron cannot step. That time is now. A supernatural detective, Winters has assembled a team of weirdos to investigate threats beyond sanity. Is Winters descended from the clandestine? A relic from the last cataclysm? Perhaps his origin is biblical. Aerie has investigators dubbed Nighthawk Incorporated. This club of heroes travels the world solving the unsolvable. Although obsessed with unsolved mysteries, they do let some remain unsolved. After all, it's a mysterious world. Maybe it's better to keep it that way. Ocean City, El Dorado, is the dream factory. It is the entertainment capital of Angor. There you can tour the Hollywood Walk of Fame, sunbathe in Malibu Beach, or cruise down Rodeo Drive in the Beverly Hills neighborhood. Since Kalabak and Hela's invasion, the Pride Foundation has rebuilt and modernized the city. The city's recovery has been so miraculous that people joke, who did they sacrifice to make all this happen? Yeah, about that. Progeny of the progenitors, the Oceanians, are a good people. However, they are a good people ruled by despots and oligarchs. These power elites have often crossed swords with Mermaid. Residing in the Pacific Ocean, the Oceanians regard the surface as a forbidden zone. Why is it forbidden? The surface is where they fear a predator unseen since the last cataclysm. The Omega Celestials are the last Celestials of the First World. They are wonder, entropy, wisdom, and mystery. They managed to evade the aspirants during the First, Second, and Third Worlds. When the Fourth World began, the Omega Celestials thought they had finally outrun the aspirants. The Four settles in the universe of Earth 1. Eventually, they sensed the aspirants arriving in Reality 616. Repopulation was moved to Earth 0. The Omega Celestials, however, opted to make Earth 1 their last stand. Each Celestial embodies a belief, and each will die for that belief. 1977. A meteorite comprised of 10th metal crashes in Big Cypress Swamp. The 10th metal mutates native flora into a race of plant creatures. Ruled by the heroic Earl King, the creatures assist whoever is lost or stranded. Recently though, the end of the 7th incarnation of Reality 616 has changed the Earl King. Now, in the 8th incarnation, he is no mere thing of the swamp. Polemachus exists in a pocket dimension. The planet's only light source are its rings. The rings radiate due to vast amounts of argonite. In Polemecan lore, giant knights mined the rings for their armor. Polemachus is a higher gravity world whereupon exists a culture obsessed with competition. Polemacans value social Darwinism and warfare as sport. Science, medicine, agriculture, even art is seen as forms of warfare. In other words, life is war. The means to live are weapons. The Polemacans are an example of convergent evolution. Despite appearances, their DNA is 1.6% different from Angorians. Males can lift 2 tons and run near 100 miles per hour. Females carry 4 uteri. Youngsters sexually mature faster. Polemacan musculature can produce far less fatigue toxins over a 24-hour period. They require around 6 to 8 hours of sleep every 30 to 36 hours. Polemacans even heal faster and dehydrate slower. They can live up to 150 years. Although Polemacans have the same number of chromosomes as Angorians, there is less variation. Finally, their sensitivity to electromagnetic fields enables an extrasensory awareness. Empyrean City is the crown jewel. The city-state is a mecca for art, music, fashion, cuisine, agriculture, trade, and science. It is ruled by a cunning madman, Archon the Magnificent. After expanding his dominion, Archon discovered an ancient hidden passageway. The passage led to a locked door built by the Brotherhood of the Ankh. Apparently 12 tribes of Polemacans passed that way 13,600 common years ago. Wherever they went, Archon is confident they were the predator and the natives the prey. Allfire Whitemane aspired to explore Reality 616. He sailed his smart ship, Friday against the light force current into the far shore, aka the 8th dimension. It was then the man on the wall shot him down. Crash landing in the negative zone of Quad, Allfire sought to repower his oscillation over thruster. Comprised of 10th metal, Friday adapted both herself and Allfire to the antimatter charge of Quad. Absconding with enough antimatter, Allfire escaped back through a gateway. Attacked by privateers from the Zn'rx Empire, he crash-landed in Virginius. Alex, Jack, Katie and Julie then found the unconscious Allfire. Their parents, Doctors James and Margaret Power, gave shelter to Allfire. However, the Zn'rx came for the unique and valuable oscillation over thruster. Outfitted in Chimelian spacesuits, the siblings repelled the Zn'rx, freed their parents, and repowered Friday. As a parting gift, Allfire altered the spacesuits to exhibit a different power for each sibling. Katie hugged Whitey goodbye. Allfire left her a parting gift, a plushie of himself printed by Friday. Oh, I love plushies. The power prisms were plucked from the Lifestone tree of Gemworld by Volthoom. Each prism contains its own pocket dimension. Within each evolves an ecosystem and life forms. Prisms are usually vulnerable to ultraviolet light. The question if a prism is affected to infrared remains unanswered. Therefore, each society within a prism chooses a protector, a spectrum smith. All prisms are connected by a network called the consecution of colors. The secret to one's success is that one's success story is pure fiction. The Gibborim were exiled from the God sphere. Cut off from sustenance, these exiles opted to sustain themselves on souls. Intangible but knowledgeable, the Gibborim exchanged worldly knowledge for souls from the ambitious and the greedy. These ambitious and greedy dealmakers often opt to sacrifice those considered to be wastes of human flesh. Ocean City's devastation produced severe desperation among the already ambitious and greedy. 6 couples whose reach exceeded their grasps were approached. Each one gained intimate knowledge of real estate, banking, data, medicine, energy and politics. Overnight, the old elites of Ocean City were replaced by a new Varish. But empires are never toppled by forces without. They are toppled by forces within. They are neither celestials nor aspirants. The progenitor's origin is a complete mystery. What is known, however, is their childlike curiosity and imagination. Without parents, the progenitors create new and different life forms whose experiences can teach them invaluable lessons. Among their creations are the Utopians, Oceanians, Hydronoids, Earthers, cat people, brain creatures and many more. Recently, the progenitors have chosen a favourite teacher, Power Princess. In 1664, Dr. Molly Ravenscroft emigrated from Ravenscroft, Britannia to New Orange. Molly was a woman alone. Worse, an educated woman alone. Eventually, she earned the respect of colonists and natives alike. Curious, Molly compiled the folkways of the Lenape of Mannahatta. From this compilation, Molly learned of a cannibalistic cult known as the Others. One day, an Irish immigrant, Cortland Cassidy, was accused of cannibalism, prompting hybernophobia. Deducing Cassidy as having escaped the cult hunger, Molly determined to capture the real cannibal. Accompanied by Lenape locals and Irish immigrants, Molly staked out a forbidden zone. There, in the woods, Molly witnessed a woman giving birth to 4 children, each held by a different father. While surveilling, Molly's posse was ambushed by the Others. Astonishingly, the cultists were impervious to rifle fire. Fleeing, Molly lured her pursuer into a pit trap. Upon recovering the cannibal's exotic dagger, Molly was startled by the fiend extricating himself. She then stabbed her pursuer, killing him. Molly returned to New Orange with her quarry. The following night, the body vanished. A second posse returned to recover no trace of the Others. The colonists established an office for Molly's investigations. In addition, she began treating Cassidy's melancholy. her son, Jonas, would expand that office into Ravenscroft Asylum. Today, the asylum houses patients with unique psychiatric needs. Unbeknownst to the Ravencroft Trust, the asylum is surveilled by Talons, employed by Gwen Ravenscroft, aka Nightbird. Eternus, namesake of the Eternals. Eternus was where the Alpha Eternals were modelled. Deemed proof of concept, the Alphas were abandoned. The Omega Celestials relocated to Angor to test Beta Eternals. Meanwhile, Eternus would suffer devastation. Grom alone survived. He had been the Overmind, the Eternal who networked Eternals. Centuries later, Grom conquered Angor. The Squadron Supreme were his puppets. A minority of Angorians were immune to mind control. Those immune included Nighthawk and the Redeemers. The result was a civil war. Consequently, Hyperion and Nighthawk duelled in Cosmopolis. Nighthawk then threw an Argonite Birdarang, piercing the Overmind's brain. The Redeemers had been Nighthawk's contingency. They faced the Squadron Supreme and won. Where they went afterward, Nighthawk knows not. But whenever the Squadron Supreme goes rogue, the Redeemers will be there. During colonial times, African tradesmen were sponsored for public works projects in the New Lands. After 13 Britannian colonies gained independence, the newly christened United States deemed all American Africans as unsuitable to own land. Despite high rents and a migratory lifestyle, they persevered as talented builders. Following the Second Global War, American Africans were granted citizenship with full rights to own land. As part of the Reparations Act, foreclosed, public and abandoned land was gifted to them. The Richmond family of Robbins Island became a real estate dynasty that built modern Cosmopolis. 15 years ago, a mob torched Richmond Manor, burning Conroy and Andrea Richmond alive. Their son, Kyle, escaped into the night and hid high in a tree. The mob disturbed the rare territorial Nighthawks and called off their search for the boy. Under the name Robin Isle, he was taken in by Detective Harvey Harris. Kyle compelled the sleuth to investigate. Harris was found murdered soon thereafter. No one knows who was among the mob, only that they each wore a mask, a bat mask, and so Kyle Richmond would wear one of his own, that of a bird that preys upon bats, the Nighthawk. When Thomas Thompson was born, he was diagnosed with achondroplasia. Ostracized by his peers, Tom vowed to cure his condition, and cure it he did. Afterward, he opted to cure other ills. Patenting profitable, superfluous gadgets, Tom earned enough money to cure cancer, AIDS, Alzheimer's, even schizophrenia. All the while, Tom was opposed by Big Pharma, the AMA, and faith healers. For safety, Tom relocated his labs to Rocket Central. Comprised of rare adamantium, vibranium, and Yarkar metals, Rocket Central became the new tree of life. Christened Tom Thumb, Thompson decided immortality would be his legacy. Discovering Eternium, a creation metal, Tom ventured into the Speed Force to literally steal time. Extracting Eternium caused the turbine that is the Speed Force wall to slow to a crawl. The endless eternity cursed Tom's mind to experience multiple timelines simultaneously. Now, supported by his Eternity Chair, Tom has christened himself the Chairman. Legacy. Every proud dynasty starts with a shameful ancestor. We all have that one forebear who swears by sacrifice. For the Nepo babies of the Pride Foundation, some sacrifices are too precious. Alex, Nico, Molly, Carolina, Chase, and Gertrude grew up suckling on their parents' plastic. Their parents, though, were immigrants to wealth and were disappointed by their children's jadedness. While gathered at an annual meeting, the children discovered a secret passage beneath the Pride Foundation. There, the teens witnessed their parents conducting human sacrifice to the Gibborim. Knowing their privilege and guaranteed futures came at too high a price, the teens blew the whistle to authorities. However, those authorities were employed by their powerful parents. Rebelling further, the teens went on the lam to seek allies. Now, they suckle at desperation, their privileges revoked and their futures uncertain. Alex, Nico, Molly, Carolina, Chase and Gertrude live day to day trying to get their message through, yet no one believes a single word they say. Maybe someday someone will see the truth in their eyes. For now, they are little runaways.
When the SquadronSupreme was defeated, the team's evil Dr. Spectrum was devoured. His craymer prison was shattered. During his wanderings, he suffered an existential identity crisis due to remembering his Imperium origins. Under the name Billy Roberts, he was taken in by the Satanic Church of Mephisto. The Hell Lord blessed him with a Hell-Demon prism that could channel dark force. No longer Dr. Spectrum, he is now Neon Black. In Mephisto we trust.
The Saturnians began as refugees from ancient Mars. These refugees were fleeing the Imperium. The Saturnians carved new societies underground. Although Saturn's lesser moons are settled, Titan is where Saturnian society thrives. Saturnians are often red, but sometimes a green one is born. These green Saturnians are called Skrull. The Saturnians are a constitutional monarchy. King Jax is head of state. The albino Prime Minister, Rahani, is head of government. Saturnians elect both head of government and head of state. This is indicative of the Saturnian mindset for both stability and dynamism. The Prime Minister is elected for one term, while the head of state is elected for life. A misfit, Prince Jem chose adventure over stability and dynamism, and so, in common year 1932, he fled to Angor. Since then, Jem has joined both the Great Society and the SquadronSupreme. Recently, he met Luther Manning, who lost his mother to unsafe welfare conscription, and so Jem has adopted Luther as a new son of Saturn. In common year 3768, Marcus Victorx entered his basement to find a hypertime self. His variant perfected what Marcus himself could not, the chronocube, a device that moved one's orientation laterally and diagonally through time. His variant told of timelines that were paradise, not to mention timelines wherein the Cubs won 3 straight global series. He also told of apocalyptic timelines caused by his variants. One variant slayed the Time Wraiths, creatures who devoured anyone ricocheting off the Speed Force wall. Another exterminated the Chrononians. Still another, from an unknown timeline, froze time itself to imprison his variants. The visiting Marcus then departed. Heeding his variant's warnings, Victorx invented the Eternity Brain to scout and surveil timelines. This enabled Marcus to avoid his warlike variants. However, a variant tracked him to his native hypertime. The variant, known as the Lord of Time, sought the Eternity Brain to map a hypertime empire. Surprisingly, the variant found himself frozen in time. Marcus had set a trap. He had vowed to free his every epoch of himself. Lonely, he adopted orphaned variants whose epochs occurred later than his own. It was then the visiting Marcus returned. He at last had tracked down the variant known to freeze other variants in time. That variant was none other than Victorx himself. The visiting Marcus then fell, not to a time trap, but to Alanda, daughter of Victorx. Now, Marcus Victorx is Epoch, the new Lord of Time, and his children are his elite guard, the Scarlet Centurions.
Come inside, pull up an electric chair. Let the hell begin, it's time to burn off all your hair. Toy Man's excited, his friends they cannot leave. That's just wacky at Shot's Clubhouse. Get out of bed, I'll allow no napping. 'Cause you're trapped in a place where anything can happen. You've been given fair warning, no escaping any morning. From Shot's Clubhouse, the safe word is help!
Your tax dollars at work, The Secret Department of Investigation arrests extraterrestrial spies, saboteurs and terrorists. The SDI is administered by General Wilcox, an earnest investigator chosen for his disdain of politics and ideology. The department is headquartered at the Triskelion, located on the Hudson River. Any confiscated technology deemed unsafe for reverse engineering is disposed under codename God Garden. Technology considered safe for consumer spin-off is outsourced to Hexus. Now, that is a brand you can trust.
Their house is full of secrets. When you come over to visit, you're sure as hell to beat it, courtesy of the Secret Four. Cranny, Nookie, Bookie and Wookie. Their comic book collections open to strange dimensions. 'Tis better not to mention, forbidden by the Secret Four.
Avast me hearties. Once upon a time in the Caribbean, pirates were shipwrecked by aliens. These pirates were then shanghaied to the world of Orion. There, among other time-tossed folk, the pirates created their own nation, Libertatia. Often, the pirates set sail into outer space for some booty. All booty be taxed by the Pirate King. The first Pirate King was Bootleg. The current one is Sinbad, an enterprising sea dog. Sinbad clings to booty like a barnacle to a ship's hull. But why is booty always gone? Well, Hyperion always finds it, no matter where it is buried. Of course, a better question for Sinbad ought to be, how can you get a flying man to walk the plank?
Hamilton Court is a venture capital firm. The firm lobbied for welfare and debt conscription. It was founded by a consortium consisting of 12 employee vendors. Those firms include La Jolla, Bokira, and Inkunzi. When Angor required a new global supply chain, Hamilton Court won dozens of conscription contracts. Those who fled the new slavery would be captured and conscripted as deniable assets. These assets were then indoctrinated into Skull, a ruthless terrorist organization determined to ruin the world. And why ruin the world? Simple. Humans are prey, and Skull was founded by a predator unseen since the last cataclysm. The Slab is part of the privatized prison network. Prisoners are conscripted to perform public service, each according to his ability, each in scale with her debt. Furthermore, anyone convicted of crimes against Angor are stripped of such rights. This was no different for 5 Imperium POWs. The Slab is fully automated and staffed by a robotic warden, Cyclotron. This warden can disguise itself as any of the 16 personality types. This enables Cyclotron to model healthy interaction for the prisoners. Cyclotron also comes equipped with abilities for subduing inmates. But what if Cyclotron is reprogrammed to model unhealthy interactions? And what if Cyclotron's abilities allow for certain inmates to escape?
In space, no one can hear you rock. No one can see you roll. You reach for the stars, but didn't keep your feet on the ground. So then you floated away. You're living in a dream world. Can't make money in the dream world.
write songs in the dream world. In space, no one can hear you rock. No one can see you roll. You wished on a star but couldn't keep your head in the game. So now you've wasted your life not living in the real world. Have no money in the real world. Wrote no songs in the real world. And now no one will hear you rock. No one will see you roll.
Jefferson Reed was an overworked teacher from Capital City. Following Kalibak and Hela's invasion, the police replaced the local gangs. One gang, the Golden Lords, reorganized to monitor the police. Having fallen asleep in his classroom, Jefferson awoke dangerously close to curfew. Careful, Jefferson was almost home when an Argonite meteor struck nearby. The shockwave and heave shattered and burned buildings. However, Jefferson was seemingly untouched, just glowing green. Rescued by the Golden Lords, Jefferson was taken home. Days later, Jefferson awoke to police crashing through his door. They demanded to know why he was not at work that morning. He thought he simply overslept. The police departed, warning that laziness is punishable by welfare conscription. In the mirror, Jefferson noticed how brightly green his eyes had become overnight. Meanwhile, the police went on a killing spree, executing a homeless man named Marvin. During the spree, Jefferson discovered his powers and pacified the police. The Golden Lords dubbed him Meteor Man. Later, Jefferson would free local youth conscripted by the bridge. He would be aided by the bridge's enemy, Comet Man. Afterward, he met Solar Man when exposing Mithraic spies living next door. When the Overmind conquered Angor, Meteor Man, Comet Man, and Solar Man were immune to his thrall. When an enthralled Hyperion matched Comet Man and Solar Man, Meteor Man's Argonite radiation repelled the Eternal. The three made a pact and became the Space Stars. There are worse names. They could have been named the All-Stars. The Lifestone Tree of Gemworld sure produces many prisms. Each cradles its own civilization. To protect their civilizations, lightsmiths within choose a spectrum smith to protect their home prism. To wield a prism, the smith must be attuned to the emotional spectrum. But how does a prism find its way to a spectrum smith? That is the responsibility of Scott Mason. Once he was Volthoom's husband. Now he wears his matching prism band as the Rainbow Ring. To counter the SquadronSupreme, the Squadron International was conscripted by the Helvetic League. Abusing behavioural modification, the SI conscripted both blue-collar crooks and vigilante zealots. The team consisted of advisors Mysterium and Professor Imam, Slab Experiment, Ape X, Activist Nuke, Serial Killer Lamprey, Cognitively Disabled Shape, Left-Wing Vigilantes Golden Archer and Lady Lark, Terrorist Foxfire, Right-Wing Zealot Blue Eagle, and former elite member Quagmire. Each possesses implants to shock them should they disobey. Hey, what are they? Some kind of... Tom Thompson seeks ultimate knowledge. Thaddeus Brown seeks to escape me. Claire Debussy desires new challenges. Billy Roberts crusades to sate Mephisto. And Dan Richards dares to hunt game deadlier than man. Like Prometheus before them, Chairman Dr. Impossible, Tender Mercy, Neon Black, and Nimrod aspire to steal fire from the gods. Daring, reckless, sinister. The Slab, where inmates lack human rights. For 5 Imperium POWs, behavioural modification altered them into their superior selves. The Helvetic League demanded a better counter to the Squadron Supreme than the Squadron International. And so, due to being changelings, the Imperium POWs were reshaped into Hyperion, Warrior Woman, Blur, Dr. Spectrum, and Nighthawk. Names like Squadron Elite, Dark Squadron, and Squadron Extreme were tested. However, focus groups preferred Squadron Superior. Gathered together at Rocket Central, there are assembled the world's 7 greatest heroes, created from the cosmic legend of the universe: Hyperion, Nighthawk, Power Princess, Mermaid, and the 3 newest members, Wind, Dr. Spectrum, and Prince Gem. Their mission? To fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve all mankind. The Squadron Supreme. Located within Grizzly City, the starting line accesses the inner arc of the Speed Force Wall. Once there, a traveller has a panoramic view of time. The Wind utilises the starting line to time travel without a time machine. However, those who travel the finish line are unseen by those at the starting line. Antiquity ended the day the Northern Simkarian Empire was conquered. Meanwhile, the South Simkarian Empire became more a reservation than an actual country. That was until Alexei Archaeanax, Nikolai, became Raj. As Lord Havoc, he conquered Kravia, Sokovia, Slovakia, Slovenia, and Persenzistan. Now, Simkaria has returned to its former glory. Its capital is Aniana, and its lingua franca is Simkar, an Iranic language. Simkarians again worship Tapati, the Flaming One.
Once upon a time in the West, cowboys and aliens dueled. The cowboys were abducted to the faraway world of Orion. On that world were anachronistic folk. Tobias Manning made a dishonest living shooting and looting. Well, while rootin' and tootin', he was shot by his partner, the Capricorn Kid. His brain was installed inside a mechanical man. Now, Terra Man rides with a light shooter in one hand and a single bullet 6-shooter in the other. Can you guess who that single bullet is for? That's right, varmint.
In 11,600 pre-Cataclysm, wanderers took shelter beneath the ice. Over time, they built an advanced isolationist society. However, the modern world arrived polluting aquifers and Baltic waters. Councilman Torhana decided terrorism would restrict pollution. Although the council disagreed, Torhana began sabotaging oil rigs and mining shipping lanes. However, the body count is usually 0 thanks to Mermaid. The most secretive facility on Angor, the Tower of Havoc, contains portals to key governmental and military sites throughout Simkaria. Lord Havoc may step anywhere throughout his nation, from Aniana to Prague, from Port Military Base, from Throne Room to a random home. Tyran 7 is home to the Milquetoast King Timon. When Darkseid enslaved the Tyranians to mine Argonite, he used Princess Tara to lure the Squadron Supreme into a trap. It was then Darkseid aimed an Argonite laser at Hyperion. In fact, Hyperion was a disguised Prince Gem. Defeated, Darkseid retreated to Apocalypse. Meanwhile, Nightbird promised to visit Princess Tara often. They better invite me to the wedding. Following Kalibak and Hela's invasion, America lay in ruins. Millions of refugees had fled their homes for disaster relief camps. However, they were informed that aid was to be repaid with welfare and debt conscription. Thousands fled using a loophole in the legislation. Settlers were eligible for conscriptions. The law said nothing of self-sufficient nomads. And so, RVs, buses, mail trucks and semi-trucks were swiftly converted. Convoys of good neighbours, bull haulers, Priscilla RVs, dragon wagons, stagecoaches and other trucker lingo. Convoys only stopped to refuel and resupply at night due to many places being sun-up towns. Legend has it, a highwayman will strand convoys overnight in these sun-up towns. The highwayman is a black semi that launches bikers called Dark Riders. These bikers sabotage convoys, then load the survivors onto the black semi and vanish. But heroes prowl the night too. Ulysses Solomon Archer grew up at a way station where convoys resupplied. Driven off the road by a highwayman, Ulysses was brain damaged while his brother Jefferson Hercules was killed. Revived by cybernetic brain implants, Ulysses was conscripted to pay his hospital bill. He escaped in his tricked-out semi, the US-1. Along the way, he loaded up bikers, Honcho, Wolf, Wrench, Cowboy, and RU Ready. The bikers were fugitives from Project New Genesis. Together, these bikers and this trucker defend the open road from sunset to sunrise, all the while chanting on CB, America! No. Progeny of the progenitors, Utopians reside on Utopia Isle. The island is invisible to outsiders. The Utopians reside in a post-scarcity society wherein they excel at personal development. Excellence in invention, literature, politics, and adventure is what brings meaning to life. Why excellence and not perfection? Excellence recognizes the virtues of mistakes and failures. Perfection does not. However, these are those who do pursue perfection. They are the dystopians, led by Claire Debussy, the twin sister of Power Princess. The Utopian Arch is the Utopian Embassy. Ambassador Zada, aka Power Princess, promotes post-scarcity and conservation. The embassy provides scholarships and grants for Angorians whose inventions defy traditional business models. However, the Helvetic League designs conspiracy theories to smear the Arch. These conspiracies have prompted hate crimes against Utopians. Comprised of 10th metal and vibranium, the Utopian Arch has weathered many a terrorist attack. The Utopians overcame the last cataclysm, but can they overcome these dystopian times? No one knows when vampires were created or why, only that their homeland was Abyssia, a location lost to time. But here is what we do know. To create a vampire from scratch, one requires a special dust laced with 10th metal. Once created, the vampire can reproduce either through eye beams or fang beams. Wait, fang beams? Beams of cursed energy projected through, what, cavities? Ugh, I can't even. Wendy Harris is the daughter of Harvey Harris, the detective who died examining the Richmond murders. Marvin White is the great-grandson of Diana White, a mysterious spy who curiously resembled Power Princess. They were educated in detection through Nighthawk Inc. No case is too bizarre, too loony, or too stupid to solve. These junior detectives, aided by Wonder Dog, will solve any mystery of a sensitive nature for heroes and villains alike. Hey, it pays the student loans. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. When Lord Havoc overthrew the Raj of Soonike, the royal family was exiled to Cosmopolis, trading on celebrity. Silver Sable, heir to the throne, became a mercenary to earn enough connections, resources and experience to liberate Soonike. Aiding her are the X-ray-eyed hitman, the skin-shedding Zero, and the demonic Manhunter. Recently, she recruited the revolutionaries to her cause. But will Sable restore Soonike to the small nation it was, or keep it an empire? Wonder Twin Powers. Activate. Form of something trivial. Shape of something innocuous. Exorians lacked balls. After being conquered several times over and having to rely on Angor super beings for liberation, Exor dispatched its mutant protectors to study under the SquadronSupreme. Zan and Jaina, and their space monkey, Gleek, now learn the ups and downs of heroism, like rescuing dumb teenagers from hang gliding, hitchhiking or roller coasters. Maureen Extra was an alpha who peaked early, often calling her high school clique the Menagerie. Extra became the odd girl out during college. Following Calabac and Hela's invasion, Maureen accepted a position at Burbank Labs. There, she patented genomes to restore Angor's ecosystem. Nostalgic for her alpha days, Extra resolved to create a new menagerie. The man-beast regarded her as more than an alpha. To them, she is God. Boy, is she extra. Cradled among the Zn'rx Mountains, Eden is a nexus point between divine and mortal spheres. There, Adam and Elilith honeymoon every century. Since Adam's discharge from the Secret Wars, the lovers have been honeymooning more frequently.
Do you wanna be a snowman? Wanna on his snowballs? He and Mermaid were best buddies, and now they're not. Do I dare ask why? Is it because she b****d a snowman? Did it have to be a snowman?
The Omega Celestials designed prototype Eternals to breed, albeit in very low numbers. Reproduction was activated when an Eternal met an unlikely end or went missing. To prevent overpopulation, surplus-born Eternals were stored in hibernacular aboard Heliopolis. Decades ago, Hyperion's hibernaculum fell to Angor, near the Milton Orphanage. As a teenager, Hyperion found and freed the born Eternals. The best part of having friends like them? Every single one of them could fly. Tragically, brood from the dark multiverse infested Heliopolis. Seeing his friends infected, Hyperion banished them to the dark multiverse. The worst part of having friends like them? Every single one of them was gone. Miles Michael Bendis, Willow Khan, and Sam Alexander are the Teen Supreme, the Young Squadron. Miles deduced the identity of Nighthawk and Nightbird. Willow aided Power Princess in defeating the Mind Maidens. Sam needed the protection only a power prism could afford. However, they bleeped up when they denied membership to the arrogant Alpha. Now, he seeks revenge by hiring Hitman Bloodpool, the Terminator with a tongue. All her life, Mermaid has sought her origins. Is she a creation of the progenitors? An alien? A deviant? Maybe her questions will be answered in Is, a hatchery from another world. Meanwhile, strange events are occurring in the oceans. Shooting stars fall from the night into the Caribbean Sea. A horrific howl tears apart a South African lighthouse. And in South Carolina, an unknown carcass washes up on a public beach. Are these events connected to Is? Is Mermaid connected too? Perhaps crypto-archaeologist Margot Damien can help. Once upon a time in the Hera, Mubarazoons and aliens dueled. The Mubarazoons were abducted to the faraway world of Orion. On that world were all sorts of anachronistic folk. To survive knights, pirates and outlaws, the Mubarazoons employed both science and magic. Rubbing an ancient Chinese lamp, they summoned a genie to grant wishes. Rather than blaspheme Allah by wishing for boons, they instead wished for the mere whereabouts of resources. Today, Zagdad is a monument to science. However, the heretical governor, Kareem, wishes to rub 3 times for disaster.
Conquer along with the Zn'rx. Slaughter along with the Zn'rx. We love being cruel and stay under our rule. Run in fear from the Zn'rx. March along with the Zn'rx. Hiss along with the Zn'rx. So much to shoot and crush under our boot. Conquer along with the slaughter along with the march along with the Zn'rx.
Nenet Abdulaziz is from the 58th century. An aquanaut, Nennet recovered a lost power prism, one attuned to the invisible spectrums. While researching the prism, Nennet was called before the Solar Council at Heliopolis. The council revealed an existential crisis. Time itself was receding. Essentially, their hypertime was being pruned, likely by intelligent design. It would be Nennet's duty to utilize the top-secret starting line to travel to the crisis point, 21st century Angor. Nennet ricocheted off the Speed Force wall, but landed in the common year 1933. Using her prism, she became the self-made woman Nennet Hickman. In 1938, she joined the Great Society as Dr. Invisible. Afterward, Sun God revealed he was Ikaden, the last Eternal of Heliopolis, and father to an Eternal Zodiac hybrid, that hybrid being the future's common male ancestor, Hyperion. After the multiverse incursion that claimed her teammates, she assumed a new identity, Pole Manning. It would take an invisible woman to fight an invisible foe. But how? Chaos, that's how. In the 1960s, she hired Exorian mercenaries to destabilize Angor. She convinced a Beyonder to declare the secret wars. She founded the Future Foundation to contact Polemachus. She even founded Hamilton Court and its 12 vendors to staff Skull. So what will Dr. Invisible do now? Something we'll never see coming. I am Death herself, and join me again as I continue to tour Secret Crisis, the DC Marvel Multiverse.